Good morning. It's Tuesday, July the 19th, and this is The Drill. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host and the only true conservative in the United States today. So this morning I'm going to make the daily declaration for spiritual warfare. Then we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance, sing the Star-Spangled-Banner. Then make them pay, affirmation, look at reality, neurotic and psychotic. Then we will sing America the Beautiful and wrap up with concluding remarks. All that when I get back. And the July 19th Daily Declaration, I will restore your soul. I will never leave you alone, but I will keep you safely in the shelter of my sheepfold. I am the good shepherd, and I will bring you into green pastures and cause you to lie down by still waters. I will lead you in the path of righteousness. Fear no evil. I am with you. My rod and staff are your comfort. I have prepared a table for you in the presence of your enemies. Goodness and mercy will follow you all your days, and you will dwell with me forever. Prayer declaration. Lord, you are my shepherd, I shall not be in want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside quiet waters, and you restore my soul. You guide me in the paths of righteousness for your name's sake. Even though I will walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. And let's see. Here we go. So, now the Pledge of Allegiance. Very good, and now the Star-Spangled Banner. Absolutely gorgeous. And when we come back, make them pay. So one of the reasons that Hugh Hewitt and all the other guys suck is because they give free airtime to office holders. We always wonder, how come we end up with the same people in office over and over and over again, even though we know that they're dirty, rotten bastards? Simple, because Hugh Hewitt gives them free airtime. These office holders have multi-million-dollar war chests. Okay, the system is rigged in favor of the incumbent. Okay, but it doesn't have to be that way. If every conservative in this country would do the conservative thing and make them, the office holders, pay their way, okay, by advertising time. You want to be heard? You absolutely can be heard. I'm not going to shut you out. Go and do yourself an infomercial, buy the airtime, and have at it. But it's the very people on these, you're going to hear always Sean Hannity and Hugh Hewitt whining and complaining. How come these people get reelected all the time? What's wrong with you? And they're complaining to us, the voters. And it never occurs to them that they're the problem. They are the ones that are promoting the office holders. And giving them free airtime. Free airtime. They won't do the same thing for any other candidate. They won't give people that are potential rivals as much airtime as they give to the candidates. In part because there's no prestige in it. Okay? So if you're going to do that, if you're going to give free airtime, you ought to give it to their opponents, the people that don't have a multi-million-dollar war chest. That might be more fair, or actually probably the fairest thing to do would be is make everybody pay their way, but especially the office holders. Today Hugh Hewitt was, and today is Monday, June the 14th. He was interviewing the Republican Majority Leader, and he kept referring to him as Leader, whatever the fuck his name is. And I thought, what an ass licker. Do you go home and kiss your wife with that mouth? God, it's disgusting. But there you go. There's where you go to the majority leader and say, you want on my show? Absolutely. Here's the number for the advertising department. Buy as much airtime as you can afford. Okay? Have a nice day. That's what you do. So that's the way to solve the problem of how come we always end up with the same bums over and over again. I'm listening to Hugh Hewitt, and he's doing an interview with Pompeo. He's not even doing it live. It's taped. So this way he gets to make all of his money without actually having to do any work. But anyhow, so he's talking about, again, whining and complaining that Democrats get better press than the Republicans. Instead of fixing the problem in some way, shape, or form, he just whines and complains about it, like every other ersatz conservative on the planet. So he is saying that it is from NATO, and the old Joe was at NATO pretending to be president of the United States, and he offered up an opinion that, not even an opinion really, he tried to make it sound like an opinion as though it was a fact, that the Republican leadership was fractured, that the Trump wing of the party, as he calls it, was the bulk of the Republican Party, but a minority of the American people. Now, what he's doing there that Republicans don't realize, and Hugh Hewitt goes on again, treating the situation as though Biden is stating a fact, as though old Joe is trying to state a fact. He's not. He is stating an affirmation. Not what he knows to be true, but what he hopes will be true. Okay, and so by calling him on that and saying it's not true and it never will be true, or just simply saying it never will be true, and or saying old Joe is affirming, trying to create some sort of an affirmation. He's trying to reality shape. The problem for old Joe is he's not in charge of reality. So you do something like that. That's how you deal with that. And you'll get people in your life, the lefties in your life, that'll try that with you. They're going to try and state things as though they are a fact. They might even use what old Joe said as a talking point. So you go to work and they say, well, the Donald Trump wing of the party is blah, 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 blah. And you can do the same thing and say, that's an affirmation, not a statement of fact. Have a nice day, and walk away. And that works every single time. I'm listening. Thank you. I'm listening to John and Ken, and John is talking about some guy named Buettner that's was the L.A. school superintendent, and so he's leaving. And of course, there's all kinds of problems with the school district, especially COVID or lockdown related. The teachers' unions aggravated the situation with vis-a-vis the lockdowns. Students could have gone back to school months ago, but now the teachers just now voted to have in-classroom learning in the fall, when there's places, different counties, different states that have been teaching since last fall in person. But the teachers' union here, they're making use of Alinsky's model, which says never let a good crisis go to waste. So they're wasting time making demands about Israel, making statements about Israel and whatnot while they get paid to stay out of the classroom. So anyways, so Buettner's leaving, and instead of acknowledging any of the shortcomings, the frustrations, he comes back and says that the Los Angeles County School District is a model for the nation. And John is rightly scoffing at this. But what John doesn't realize is that what Buettner is doing is called affirmation. He is not saying what the school district is today. It sounds like that's what he's trying to say. But if that was the case, then he would follow it up with statistics and other types of evidence and proof to back that up. What he's doing instead is called making an affirmation. This is a technique that comes from the 1970s. And this is back in the me decade when you could use affirmations for personal improvement. If you want to be a non-smoker, but you're currently smoking, you would sit down cross-legged in the middle of your living room and get into your little Zen state and then repeat to yourself, I am a non-smoker. I am a non-smoker, picturing yourself in the future being a non-smoker. And so, and then that works because what happens is that your mind opens up to possibilities it had excluded before. Because the whole idea is your identity and your psychology, and if you identify as a smoker, and as long as you identify as a smoker, you're going to screen out those things that will help you to stop smoking. So when you come out and make an affirmation that you're a non-smoker, then you're going to your mind will open up to those possibilities, the patch and gum and all kinds of interesting different things. But it's a projection into the future is what they're doing here, an affirmation. And it's the same thing that this LA school superintendent is doing. He is not saying that the school is today a model for the nation. It's clearly not. What he's doing is projecting it into the future, saying it will be. Okay, and so you might ask yourself, well, why don't they just say it will be? Because what happens then is that every day you get up and say, I will be a non-smoker. That's what you're doing, is pushing your goal off into the future. Especially if you don't put a date on it. If you say, I will be a non-smoker in 6 months, even then, if you get up every day and say not a non-smoker in 6 months, what happens 6 months from now? 6 months from now, you're still saying, I'll be a non-smoker in 6 months. So you never reach your goal. That's the whole purpose of stating it as an affirmation. So he may be talking about that the school district in a year or so will be the kind of school district that he envisions. So the problem with this is that affirmations can only work for the individual that's using them. So he can say, I am a great superintendent, of schools, that's a little vague. There's a whole there's a lot to making affirmations. You know, you have to do it very specific rules and whatnot so that they'll be effective. And you can't make anything vague. It has to be something that you can visualize and a bunch of other different rules. But just for the sake of explanation, he could say, I am a great superintendent. I am the model superintendent if he wants. And that could work. And he could end up being a model superintendent. But you cannot make affirmations for other people. In this case, the school district. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So, and then the left does this all the time. Constantly using affirmations. So anytime let's put it to you this way, that if you want to know when this is happening, listen for statements that seem obviously contradictory to reality. There's nothing wrong with old Joe's memory. Because we've heard statements to that effect from his staff. They're not stating a fact. What they're doing is creating an affirmation. What they assume that he will be in the future. They know his memory stinks now, and we know that they know by the way they treat him. Creating, when he goes out for a speech, he has to use a teleprompter. He's not allowed to answer questions from the press, etc. Okay, so we know that they know that his memory's no good, that he's going down Senile Boulevard here, and but they think that if they make an affirmation, a positive affirmation, that his memory is fine, that there's nothing wrong with his memory, that his memory will be somehow magically corrected. The only one that can really do that, though, however, is old Joe himself. He can make that type of an affirmation, but all it's going to do is open up possibilities for improving his memory, maybe on the margins. If he has some type of serious organic problem, senility, Alzheimer's disease, then there's nothing he can do about that. An affirmation, he can affirm all he wants to, and there's nothing that's going to that's not in and of itself going to help to fix the problem. Now, what it will do is he will be able to more easily come across various treatments and very possibly some maybe preventative measures for developing full-blown Alzheimer's or senility or dementia. So, but anyways, that's the point here, is that it is when you hear people contradicting reality, particularly on the left, what they're doing is they're making an affirmation. Now, this is knowledge for your own, again, sanity. This is between me and you as conservatives. This isn't something that you're going to want to openly discuss with the left, unless the only way you could use it is if you wanted to ask, if you were a journalist, a reporter, and they come along and say, oh, old Joe's memory is just fine. Then you could ask them, and how long into the future do you project that his memory is going to be fine? When do you think that his memory is going to be improving? This is an affirmation for what period of time? 6 months, a year down the line, what? Okay, so you could do something like that. But basically, the reason I'm telling you this is between you and me and other conservatives is for the sake of our sanity. Because it just seems like this is the kind of thing that makes you want to throw up your hands, scream, and run screaming into the night. Throw up your hands and just run screaming into the night. You know something is crap. You know San Francisco is full of feces and needles. But you'll have Nancy saying San Francisco is a fabulous place and we should have tourism there and blah, 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 blah. You know, it's a great place for tourists. It's a great place for everybody to live. She's not stating a fact or the truth. What she's doing is stating an affirmation. So this is a way, again, for helping you keep your sanity so you're not pulling your hair out or, again, running screaming into the middle of the night. Senator Manchin reminds me, thank you, by the way, but Senator Manchin reminds me of the what I was talking about earlier. Everybody in January was having all of the right-wing talk show hosts, the Sean Hannitys, the Hugh Hewitts were jumping up and down, screaming and yelling about how awful and terrible the country's going to end up because the majority that the Democrats have. They have all three. They have the White House. They have the Senate. They have the House. And it's just terrible, awful, and horrible. And we may as well all just go jump in a lake. Well, and I said, no. Let's slow down here for a second and look at reality. And the reality is that to the degree that the left has any majority anywhere, it's razor thin. In the House, there's 5 to 7 people majority. And in the Senate, it's a tie. They don't have a majority. Even though the Democrat likes to call himself a majority leader, he's no such thing. They don't have a majority, period, end of sentence. Now, illustrating that point is Senator Manchin, who stood up and said, you know what, I'm not voting for a particular piece of legislation. I don't remember and I don't care what it is, doesn't matter. And when he says, I'm not voting for that, that's it. It's dead in the Senate. Because, again, it's 50-50, and if we assume everybody's going to vote down straight party lines, then they have to bring in the vice president, the Democrats do, in order to get the bill passed. But if one person, so much as one person on the Democrat side says no, guess what? It's done. It's finished. It loses outright. They don't need the vice president. So, again, I'm saying this again to illustrate the point. Let's all take a deep breath and look at reality. And look at the reality that the left isn't running anything. They want us to think so that we'll run scared, we'll get out of the way, we'll do what we're told to do. Don't let them bully and intimidate you. Look at reality and take your cues from what's real. So to elaborate on what it is that I'm learning from In Sheep's Clothing, this book, is that you're lining up basically and the idea here for me is to make this more easily understandable what it is I'm trying to communicate to my audience. So what you would have basically is normal and non-normal. Nothing's in between. Of the non-normal, then you've got submissives, and submissives are part of submissive, a subcategory of that is neurotics. Then you have aggressives, submissives and aggressives. And so when you look around today, you see it all over the place. When you look at things in that kind of situation, most of us that are viewers of what is going on, consumers of news and whatnot, are normal. We're normal people, and normal would be defined as assertive. We're an assertive personality. We go out and we ask for what we want. If our needs are thwarted, we look in another place. Okay? Whereas the non-normal people, their needs or wants are thwarted. Generally, they assume that their needs or wants are going to be thwarted if they ask. So what they do instead is either they take the neurotic submissive method and keep their mouth shut and then hope that somebody goes ahead and drops some alms into their cup, which is usually the conservatives and the Republicans, or they're aggressive about it and they take what they want. They assume that nobody's going to say yes, that you can have this, so they're just going to walk out and take it away from you. So where do we see this in politics? Well, the left is clearly the aggressives here, particularly when you're looking at it. The dramatic examples of that is Portland, what's going on in Portland each and every day. So, and then what you see in right-wing talk radio is the neurotic side of it. The people that are they're more interested in being fair than anything else. They're not interested in winning. The aggressives are interested in winning, and they'll sacrifice fairness to win. The things will sacrifice winning to fairness. That fairness is the whole thing. And normal people realize that you don't have to make the sacrifice for any of these. A lot of it is asking for what you want. Now, I got to ask yourself, in the largest sense, what is it that the conservatives want? A true conservative, right? What is it that we want, the normal people? We want to be left alone. Leave me alone. We want to be independent. Leave me alone. Que laissez-faire. Or nous laissez-faire. Leave us alone. Okay? And then the other side can be summed up with lead, follower, get out of the way. Very activist, very energetic. And again, it's not people that are going to ask permission. They're not going to ask. They're not going to ask for what they want. They're just simply going to take it. They're going to assume that if they ask for what they want, they're not going to get it. And this is what a lot of what you see in politics, particularly in California, where they're spending outrageous amounts of money to build shelters of various sorts. $700,000 to shelter one person is ridiculous. But they just go ahead and do it rather than, say, putting that on the ballot and or putting it up for a vote of the city council or some other legislative body, because, again, they're afraid that people are going to say no. And again, that's one of the problems when you're looking for paradise. Everybody's got a different idea as to what paradise looks like. So at the end of the day, what you end up with is a dictatorship. Somebody has to take charge and tell the vast majority of people, sorry, your version of paradise isn't going to be included. Okay? We're going to go with my version of paradise. And my version of paradise is $700,000 homeless shelters and that kind of thing. So that's where you get that dictatorial feel. But again, the point is that you can see it everywhere in this country today, the aggressive nature of the left versus the very passive nature of the right. Now, how does the right win? First of all, the right has to quit being willing to sacrifice winning to fairness. I don't become a Republican to be fair. I don't become a Republican. I become a Republican to win, because I believe my values, my Republican political values, are best. This is what's best for me. It's what's best for fellow Republicans, and as a matter of fact, it's what's best for the country. So I want to win. I want to see the Republicans have the majority and have a Republican president. And I want to see Republican majorities all over the country, because I firmly believe that Republicans and Republicanism is what's best for this country. So I get involved in politics to win. I'm goal-oriented. I want to see certain things happen, and in order for those things to happen, we have to win. So the other issue is fairness itself is a vague statement. Fair meaning what? Whose rules are we going by? Usually it means we go by Nancy Pelosi's rules. Nancy Pelosi will decide what's fair, and then the rest of us have to go along, usually to the detriment of Republicans and conservatives. So, that being said, then a classic example of that is in California. We had a ballot measure that took away, supposedly, the power of gerrymandering from the politicians and put it in a citizens commission. And the first thing that the left did, the right didn't do it. The right decided, the conservatives decided to go by the rules. They took everything at face value, and they said, okay, yes, this is great. We're going to have our, went ahead and acted as if this is going to be, everybody's going to play fair here. And the left saw an opportunity to be aggressive, to skirt the rules and to use this new system as a way of stacking the deck and putting all Democrat operatives, or a vast majority of Democrat operatives, on this commission. And they did. And now we have what? Democrats run the state from stem to stern. So again, another case where the Republicans were more interested in going by the rules than they were in winning. Okay, so, and that's the way they're defeated a lot of times, Republicans, in debates, is because, of course, before you have the debate, then you got to have the rules. So you sit down with the Republicans and say, these are the rules. You can't do this, can't do that, can't do the other thing. Then when the debate happens, the Democrat promptly starts breaking the rules. And the Republican is just standing there wide-eyed like a deer in the headlights, not knowing what to say or do because they're not anticipating this kind of treachery. So that's kind of the way this is setting up with this sheep's clothing. Now, the question then becomes, how do we deal with it? Well, number one is we have to get rid of neutrality. The left has sold us a bill of goods. We have to quit listening to taking political advice from the left. Okay, one of the part of the political advice is you got to be neutral because we have to get moderates. Whoever the hell that happens to be, we don't know. So we have to quit taking political advice from the left, and we have to start doing what we need to do. We can still operate within the rules. I'm not suggesting we break laws, but we can be more assertive in the way we present ourselves. We can use psychological tools and techniques, which the Republicans have been reluctant to apply. We can bluff people, for instance. Classic example, Old Joe ripped us off. Old Joe and the Democrat Party found a way to rip off the American people, steal the election, and so what we can do is to simply say, that's fine. Your guy is in there right now, but come 2022, it's our turn. We're going to start cheating, and we're going to start ripping you off. And as a matter of fact, we're going to do it so well, we're going to do it better than you, and we're going to do it so well that you're never elected or reelected to office ever again. Now, is that what we're planning to do? Who knows? It's a bluff. Okay? So, using techniques and whatnot like that. Normally, Republicans are very anal, very neurotic about things, very guilt-ridden. And again, everything has to be nice and fair. And since bluffing isn't really fair in this particular circumstances, they're reluctant to do it. You got to get over that. Get over it. If you want to be a neurotic, fake conservatives are the neurotics. The Sean Hannitys, even the Hugh Hewitts. The Sean Hannitys, the Hugh Hewitts, all the right-wing talk show hosts, because I think they assume that what's different between them and the left is that the right is willing to respect the law, respect the rules, and that without respect for the rules of the law, then our society will simply collapse. That's the fear part of it. That's the essence, the center part of their neuroses. We're the linchpin that holds this republic together. But the problem is that if you were going to let the left win all the time, cheat their way through elections, then we're not the linchpin that holds this republic together at all. We are the cause of its destruction. Okay, so there's a saying, I'm not sure if I agree with it, but that the aggressor sets the rules, and the left is the aggressors. They're the aggressive people, and it seems to me the best way to encourage the left or discourage the left from continuing a very aggressive psychologistic pathway, trying to psych everybody out all the time, is to counter psychology. You're going to bluff, we're going to counter bluff. Okay, so this way we're not on defensive all the time, because that's a common complaint by the normal people. And the normal people are those of us that watch this process play out every day on television. Watching the Republicans and the faux conservatives cringing. Another classic example is, look what happened on January 6th. Look what happened January 6th. Where were the Republicans? Where were the Republican office holders? They were in a basement somewhere, shivering under a desk, hiding. Are you serious? The left was as well. Nancy Pelosi was going out and hiding under a desk as well. But Nancy Pelosi had plans. She's going to use all of this as a fodder for more aggressive activity, putting up fences, calling in the National Guard, and reminding people it's a scary world and a scary universe out there, and if you look away for 1 second, somebody might show up and steal your rights. Okay, not true. But the Republicans had many opportunities to exercise leadership. Ted Cruz, he wants to be president. Act like one. Act like one. Get up on a piece of furniture when these people are coming into the Capitol building. They're flooding into the Capitol building. Get up on a piece of furniture and say, excuse me, whistle if you have to. Hello, I'm Ted Cruz. I'm Senator Ted Cruz from this great state of Texas. If you got something that you need to say, or you got something that's on your mind, you want to talk, I'm right here. Come talk to me. That would have been the boldest move. He would have been the presumptive 2024 nominee right there. But no, he took the neurotic path. Got to be fair. So we're going to run and hide. We're going to play by the rules. And the rules, I guess, of is that if emergency occurs, then all of the security forces come in and swoop up all the ruling class and squirrel them away in some basement where they can hide and shiver somewhere. Republicans should have said no. Well, we don't need to do that, and we're not going to. Furthermore, that the Republicans could have anticipated this event. Everybody knew that January 6th had potential for being trouble. We assumed that trouble was going to come from BLM and the left, but we got hoodwinked again. Nancy Pelosi simply let her guard down, allowing these people to come into the Capitol, and then turns around and calls it a riot, and then starts suing and prosecuting everybody in sight. Fairly brilliant strategy. What was the Republican strategy? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Could have anticipated and laid the trap for Nancy Pelosi. Hey, Nancy Pelosi, we know that you're up to no good. We know that you're going to try and subvert this, and if you even think about it, we're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. I'm going to have the Department of Justice, assuming that this is Donald Trump saying this, Department of Justice come after you and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Now you're going somewhere. Now the same situation breaks out January 6th. You can come out, Donald Trump can come out and say, aha, Nancy Pelosi's up to her old, dirty tricks. I demand an investigation of Nancy Pelosi and her henchmen. I want to find out. I want to know who all in the Democrat Party was involved in this fiasco, and I want them prosecuted, and I want them kicked out of Congress, and I'm going to be writing legislation so that they can be sued. Now who's in control? Now who's in charge? Now who's winning? Instead of standing around like with our wide-eyed like deer stuck in a headlight, when Nancy Pelosi is saying this was a riot, this was an insurrection, we've got to close everything down, we've got to go out and have investigations and prosecutions, and all the Republicans are standing around, looking like a small dog that just wandered out onto the freeway. I get so sick and tired of that. Events unfold, and there are the Republicans with this wide-eyed stare, looking around and all over the place, wondering where the hell they are. What's going on here? Stuttering and stammering their way through press conferences. It's a bunch of bullshit, and they need to knock it off. So, but that's the way everything sets up really nicely. You got the neurotics, the psychotics, and then we are the normal people. Thank you. I'm running a little long today, so I'm going to skip the last part and just say, remember until next time to remember to be honest, to be smart, and to be beautiful. Remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win.